"This is Mara," Grant says, his palm warm against the middle of my back. "She's a family friend." For half a second, I think I misheard him. Music spills from the Bellwether ballroom behind us, all brass and drums and a singer, turning an old rock song into something expensive. Grant's 3 former classmates look at me with welcoming smiles. I'm standing beside my husband in the navy dress he chose for me, wearing the pearl earrings he gave me on our 5th anniversary, and they are waiting for a family friend to explain how she belongs here. "How nice," a silver-haired woman says. "Did you know Grant in college?" Before I can answer, someone calls my name from across the foyer. "Mara Vale?" Luis Ortega, the hotel manager, walks toward us with both hands open. His face breaks into the same warm smile he wore 8 years ago when he found Grant's cufflinks under a banquet table. He hugs me, turns to Grant and says, "8 years already. Do you two still have that brass key from your wedding?" Grant's hand falls away from my back. The silver-haired woman looks from him to me. "Your wedding?" Luis stops smiling. Grant recovers first. He always does. "Luis, you remember everything." He laughs and slides his hand into his pocket. "And yes, of course we still have it. Mara keeps every sentimental object known to man." I remember the important nights. Luis's eyes settle on Grant's face. "Suite 614. You locked the rings in there before the ceremony." "I did not lock them in there." Grant raises a finger, performing the correction. "My best man took the wrong key. You had the key in your tuxedo pocket." "Then why didn't it open the door?" "Because you were trying it in 416. The silver-haired woman laughs, mostly from relief. Her name tag says, Denise Halpern. The man beside her says, "Wait, so this is your wife?" Grant looks at me. It is a tiny pause, barely long enough for a person to inhale. I feel it anyway. "Yes," I say. "I'm his wife." Denise's smile tightens at the corners. I thought maybe family friend was some inside joke. "It is," Grant says. "It isn't," I say. The silence that follows is small but complete. Luis glances at me. He knows how to rescue people from moments they cannot afford to have in public. I have seen him produce stain remover during a champagne toast and a sewing kit before a bride realized her zipper had split. Tonight, he reaches for professionalism like a clean white cloth. "We're glad to have you both back at the Bellwether," he says. "Mrs. Vale, if you need anything, ask for me." Mrs. Vale lands between us like a glass set carefully on a table. Grant claps the man nearest him on the shoulder. "Tom, I want to hear how the orthopedic empire is going. Denise, save me a dance. Mara, would you check whether my mother needs help with the place cards?" He does not wait for my answer. His classmates carry him into the ballroom on a current of questions and old names. Luis remains beside me. The foyer smells of beeswax, lilies, and the citrus oil the Bellwether uses on its walnut paneling. On my wedding day, Celeste had complained that the lilies were too fragrant. Luis moved every arrangement before the ceremony without making me feel as though I'd caused a problem. I had remembered that kindness. Apparently, he had remembered me. "Did I step into something?" he asks quietly. "No." He gives me a look honed by 3 decades of hearing guests lie about broken lamps and missing jewelry. "Maybe," I say. "Would you like me to find you a car?" "My car is in the garage." "Would you like me to find you a reason to go to it?" That almost makes me smile. "I'm all right." "You don't have to be all right in my foyer. You only have to avoid blocking the fire doors." I look through the ballroom entrance. Grant has already reached another group. Even from behind, I can recognize the version of him he brings to rooms like this. Shoulders loose, chin lifted, every person receiving his full attention for exactly as long as it takes to make them feel selected. He used to turn that attention on me across crowded rooms. "Did you know?" I ask. "Know what?" "That Grant was telling people we weren't married." Luis's expression changes so slightly another person might miss it. Until 60 seconds ago, I didn't know he was. That answer is careful enough to frighten me. Celeste appears in the ballroom doorway holding a stack of cream place cards. Her black suit is severe, her lipstick bright, her silver blonde hair twisted into a knot that has never once loosened in my presence. "There you are," she says. "We have a dietary crisis at table 9. Then you should speak to the banquet captain." I did. He says the cards came from us. Vale Events submitted the cards. And who checked the final spreadsheet? I did, 3 weeks ago at our kitchen island. While Grant opened wine and Celeste dictated changes from her phone, Luis reaches for the cards. "I'll take care of it." Celeste's grip remains on them for a beat before she lets go. "Thank you. Mara, could you come with me?" It is phrased as a request. Celeste has always considered tone a sufficient substitute for consent. She leads me past the ballroom doors. Round tables shimmer under amber lights. Vale Events ivory linens cover them, each napkin folded into a slim fan. I spent a Sunday helping Celeste count those napkins after she accused the laundry service of losing 14. We eventually found them in the trunk of her car. "You contradicted Grant in front of his classmates," she says. "He introduced me as a family friend." I heard. I stopped beside a marble column. "You heard?" He was improvising. Was he? Celeste looks toward the room. Grant is laughing with Elise Rowan near the bar. I recognize Elise from the reunion website. She has a blunt brown bob, a red silk blouse, and the contained stillness of a person other people approach. She oversees hospitality investments for the Rowan Group. For 6 months, Celeste has said her name so often that it has become a form of weather in our house. Elise liked the tasting menu. Elise thinks Vale Events could scale. Elise hates emotional mess. Elise dated Grant during their senior year, a fact Celeste disclosed as if informing me that they had once taken the same economics course. "Grant is trying to keep tonight focused," Celeste says, "by pretending he doesn't have a wife?" "By avoiding a complicated explanation." "What explanation?" Her eyes finally meet mine. "You know how alumni gossip? Someone heard you and Grant were having problems." "Who?" "It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Mara, this contract would let us add 2 kitchens and hire a permanent sales staff. Grant has spent 4 months getting us in front of Elise. Please don't turn a clumsy introduction into a crisis." "You still haven't told me why calling me his wife would require an explanation." Celeste exhales through her nose. "Because Elise believes the 2 of you are reassessing things." For a moment the room seems to tilt, though nothing moves. A server walks by carrying a tray of tiny crab cakes. Across the ballroom, Grant leans closer to hear something Elise says. He touches her elbow when he answers. Why does she believe that? Celeste straightens a place card that does not need straightening. There was a conversation. Between whom? This isn't the place. You made it the place when you brought me here. I didn't bring you. Grant did. In Celeste's mouth, this sounds like evidence in my favor. I look down at my dress. Grant sent me a photograph of it 2 weeks ago with the message, "This would be perfect for the reunion. It is simple, dark, and fitted high at the throat." I thought he liked it. Now I notice the banquet staff wear almost the same shade of navy. "Did he ask you to help tonight?" Celeste says. "He said he wanted me beside him." That may be what he meant. It is such a precise cruelty that I nearly admire it. Someone calls Celeste's name from table 9. She lifts one finger in acknowledgement. "We will discuss this at home," she says. "Until then, think very carefully about what you want to accomplish. Grant made one foolish choice under pressure. You can embarrass him, or you can let him repair it." She walks away before I can ask which of us she thinks is being protected. I stay for another 40 minutes. Later, I will wonder why. Shock is too dramatic a word for what I feel. Shock suggests a clean blow, an instant understanding. This is more like discovering water under a floorboard. I keep stepping around the soft place, testing its edges. Grant finds me near the silent auction display and hands me a glass of wine. "There you are." "I've been here." "I know, I've been trying to get away." He glances over his shoulder. Tom Haskins can turn a knee replacement into a 6-part documentary. Why did you call me a family friend? His smile disappears, but only from his mouth. I panicked. About what? Denise asked me earlier if I'd come alone. I said yes because you hadn't arrived yet. Then you walked up while she was standing there, and my brain supplied the stupidest possible phrase. That isn't what your mother said. His eyes harden. What did she say? That Elise thinks we're reassessing our marriage. Jesus, Mara. Is that true? He sets his untouched glass on the auction table. Can we have one conversation my mother doesn't get to ruin before it starts? You told someone we're separating. I didn't tell her that. What did you tell her? That things at home had been intense. I wait. Grant rubs his thumb along his lower lip. Elise asked why I kept hesitating on the expansion. I said there were personal considerations involving the house I own, our house, the house you want me to put behind alone. He lowers his voice. This is exactly why I didn't want to do this here. Then tell me where you did want to do it. A couple pauses beside us to inspect a framed golf package. Grant smiles at them automatically. The man studies the bid sheet with the concentration of someone defusing a bomb. When they move on, Grant says, Elise got the impression we might be heading in different directions. Correcting her would have meant discussing our finances, the company, my mother living downstairs, everything she already sees as risk. So you let her believe the problem was our marriage. I let her believe I was handling my personal life by erasing me from it. That is not what happened. I was standing beside you. I know where you were. The words come out sharper than he intends. He closes his eyes for an instant. I'm sorry, he says. The introduction was awful. I heard it as soon as I said it. But tonight matters, Mara. Not just to me. My mother has 6 employees depending on this expansion, and she has us paying half her utilities. This contract changes that. You've said that about every favor for 3 years. He looks wounded then, which is one of Grant's most disorienting gifts. His hurt is often sincere, even when he caused the injury. I wanted you here, he says. As what? My wife. Just not out loud. A burst of laughter rises from the bar. Elise is still there, but Celeste has joined her. The 2 women turn toward us almost together. Grant notices. Let me get through the presentation, he says. We'll leave right after. I pick up my purse. Mara. You told everyone you came alone. I'm fixing the inconsistency. His face reddens. Walking out makes this look worse. To whom? Can you stop making every sentence a trap? I didn't build this room, Grant. He reaches for me, then seems to remember the foyer and lets his hand fall. I leave through the same doors where Luis recognized me. He is helping an older couple with their coats. When he sees me, he says nothing, only gives a small nod that feels more respectful than any apology Grant could offer tonight. At home, the entryway is dark except for the lamp above the narrow walnut table. My keys make their ordinary scrape in the ceramic bowl. The brass key to Suite 614 usually lies beneath them. I lift a grocery store loyalty card, 2 loose coins, and the spare key to the basement. The heavy oval tag is not there. Then I notice the pale rectangle on the wall. Our wedding portrait is gone. For 8 years it has hung above that table. Grant laughing with his forehead against mine, my veil caught around his shoulder, both of us blurred at the edges by rain. Now a framed photograph of Grant receiving his college diploma hangs in its place. There are scuff marks on the floor near the basement door. I switch on the hall light and follow them downstairs. Our wedding portrait stands behind 3 boxes of ivory napkins. Beside it are 2 framed photographs from the living room, the basket where I keep mail, and the blue ceramic bowl Grant's aunt gave us at our rehearsal dinner. Someone has cleared every visible sign of me from the first floor and stored it with the catering supplies. Upstairs, I open Grant's desk drawer. The brass hotel key rests on top of a Rowan Group proposal, its tarnished tag gleaming under the lamp. A note in Celeste's handwriting is clipped to the proposal. House photographs looked much cleaner. Elise loved the space. Once Mara signs, we can move quickly. I hear Grant's key turn in the front door. I pick up the brass tag and close my hand around the stamped numbers. For the first time, I do not wonder how he could deny having a wife. I wonder what else my husband has already promised in my name. The door opened, and Grant stepped inside with his tie pulled loose. "Mara?" I left the note clipped to the proposal and carried the brass key into the hallway. He looked from my hand to the empty place above the entry table. His face changed before he saw the boxes downstairs. "You found the proposal." "I found our wedding picture in the basement." He closed the door carefully. "My mother moved some things for the walkthrough." The walkthrough. Elise wanted to understand how we currently operate. "You mean how your mother operates out of my house." "Our house, Mara. You keep saying that when you want something from it." He shrugged off his jacket and hung it on the brass hook beside the door. I had installed that hook because Grant used to drop his coats over the dining chairs. 4 years of reminding him had accomplished nothing. One afternoon with a drill had solved it. "It was a preliminary conversation," he said. "Nothing has been committed." I held up Celeste's note. "Once Mara signs, we can move quickly." I can't control what my mother writes to herself. She showed Elise the house, the ground floor and the basement. My living room was cleared of me. His gaze moved to the blank rectangle on the wall. Elise didn't need our personal life staring her in the face while she evaluated the space. She wasn't evaluating the space. She was evaluating the company. The company uses the space, because I let it. Grant pressed his fingertips to his eyelids. "Could we sit down?" "No." "I'm trying to talk to you. You're trying to lower the volume. It's 11:30 at night and my mother is downstairs. Your mother came into our home and removed our wedding portrait. She moved a photograph. You helped her." He dropped his hands. The truth arrived before the answer. "She couldn't get the hook loose," he said. I took it down. I looked at the man in front of me and pictured the ordinary mechanics of it. Grant fetching the step stool from the pantry. Celeste holding the bottom of the frame. The two of them carrying our rain-blurred faces down the stairs, then returning to hang his graduation photograph in the cleared space. He had performed every motion required to erase me, and later stood in the Bellwether foyer pretending the result had been an accident of speech. "How long was Elise here?" 20 minutes. "Did you tell her I own the building?" "She knows it's our residence." "That wasn't my question." "The proposal states that the site is privately held." "By whom?" He looked toward the kitchen. I walked into his office and opened the proposal. The first page showed photographs of the brownstone, the garden entrance, the basement storage room, our kitchen with its long butcher block island. I had sanded and sealed that island myself over 2 sticky August weekends, while Grant stood nearby reading instructions from the wrong page. Vale Events planned to convert the basement into a licensed preparation area, use the garden apartment as administrative space, and pledge the property as security for equipment financing. The budget included electrical upgrades, commercial ventilation, plumbing, and a second exterior entrance. On page 11, under owner contributions, someone had typed, "Vale Family Property Contribution, subject to final spousal authorization." I read it twice. Spousal authorization. It's a draft. You listed my house as a Vale family contribution. It's an asset available to the household. An asset is not available because you can see it from the window. We talked about this. We talked about replacing the basement sink. We have had dozens of conversations about expanding the business. In none of them did I offer my home as collateral. Grant came around the desk. "Do you think I would sign something without you?" "I think you told Elise our marriage was ending so she wouldn't ask why your wife hadn't agreed." His jaw tightened. "I told you she drew her own conclusion, and you dressed me like the staff and introduced me as a friend to protect that conclusion. I bought you a dress I thought you'd like. It matches the uniforms. That is insane. Is it? Yes, Mara, it's navy. Half the room was wearing navy. Your mother knew what you were going to call me. My mother guesses what people will do and then takes credit when they do it. It was a good line. On another night, I might have laughed. Grant watched for the reaction and saw it fail. He lowered his voice. I should have corrected Elise weeks ago. I should have told you about the proposal before tonight. I made a series of bad decisions because I thought I could get us to a place where the numbers made the decision obvious. For me, for both of us. What happens to Celeste's apartment? We would remodel the rear rooms. She could keep the front bedroom during construction. And after? The proposal includes a salary adjustment. She could afford her own place. I almost admired the circular beauty of it. My house would secure the loan that expanded Celeste's company so Celeste could someday afford to stop living in my house. Did she write this proposal? We hired a consultant. Who paid the consultant? Grant did not answer. I went to the kitchen and opened the slim drawer where we kept bank statements, warranty papers, and instruction manuals. The joint checking statement lay under the refrigerator filter receipt. 3 payments to Kessler Hospitality Consulting had been marked as household professional services. Together, they totaled $4,800. Grant stood in the doorway. That money came from our tax reserve, I said. I replaced $2,000 last month. You paid a business consultant from our personal account. It was temporary. You didn't ask me. You approved helping with the feasibility work. I approved $800 for a ventilation inspection. The scope changed. So did my marital status, apparently. He flinched. It should have satisfied me. Instead, it made me tired. The door at the bottom of the back stairs opened. Celeste climbed into the kitchen wearing soft gray slippers and a silk robe over her reunion clothes. She still had on the bright lipstick. I had always been fascinated by her ability to prepare for bed without looking diminished by it. I heard voices, she said. Good, I told her. This saves me a trip downstairs. Grant stepped between us without seeming to. We're handling it. Are you? Celeste asked. I'm withdrawing permission for Vale Events to use the basement, the kitchen, or any part of this house except your apartment. She stared at me. Grant said, Mara, don't make business decisions in the middle of a fight. I'm making a property decision. You can't remove our inventory overnight. Celeste said, I'm not asking you to. I'll give you 30 days to move it. 30 days? We have 4 events next month. Then you have 30 days and 4 reasons to start. Celeste drew the robe more tightly around herself. I have worked from this building for 5 years. You have lived here for 5 years. Working from it was supposed to mean a desk and a printer. You helped install the storage shelves. I helped you after the warehouse flooded. And you've used them ever since, Grant said, as if catching me in a contradiction. For our luggage. Celeste looked past me at the open bank statement. You went through the accounts. They're my accounts. They're joint accounts, Grant said. Then we should both know what leaves them. Celeste's face softened, which was more dangerous than anger. Mara, you have every right to feel hurt about tonight. Grant behaved badly. I told him so. You told me to help with the place cards. There were 60 people in that ballroom. I was trying to prevent one careless sentence from becoming the evening's entertainment. You were trying to prevent me from correcting it. I was trying to protect my son while he recovered from a mistake. The honesty of that stopped me. Celeste glanced at Grant. He has spent his entire life wanting to be taken seriously by people who knew him before he had anything to show them. He walked into that reunion with one chance to stop being the charming boy who never quite followed through. Elise's contract matters to him in ways he is ashamed to say. I'm standing right here, Grant said. I know. You should listen. She turned back to me. What he did was weak. Weakness is not the same as malice. No, it just leaves the door open for it. Her eyes flicked toward the brass key in my hand. Mara, she said, if you pull the house now, Elise walks. The company stays exactly what it is. Too large for my apartment, too small for a proper facility. Always one bad month from missing payroll. You will not only be punishing Grant. That is how you make every favor permanent. You attach 6 employees to it. They exist whether you resent them or not. So do I. Grant made a frustrated sound. No one is saying you don't. You said it in a ballroom full of people. I said the wrong phrase. You let a woman with a contract believe you were leaving me. I let a potential client avoid details that had nothing to do with her decision. Then why did she need to think you were single? She didn't. Grant. He looked away. Celeste answered for him. Because Elise and Grant once had a relationship, and she finds him easier to trust when she believes she understands his motives. Grant stared at his mother. That was not yours to say. Apparently, none of tonight was mine to say, yet I'm the only person saying it plainly. The refrigerator motor clicked off. In the new quiet, I heard water moving through the pipes downstairs. Did you encourage her? I asked Grant. No. Did you flirt with her? His hesitation was shorter than the one in the foyer. I was warm, he said. It was business. Celeste closed her eyes. I set the bank statement on the island. I'm done for tonight. Grant moved toward me. Please don't go upstairs and lock the door. I'm not. Then let's sit down. Let's work out a way to pause the proposal without blowing up the company. I'm going to the Belmont. The hotel? It's 3 blocks away. We were just at a hotel. The sheer uselessness of that sentence made me laugh. It came out wrong, too sharp and loud. Celeste watched me as if I had dropped a glass. Grant's voice softened. Don't leave like this. I'm going somewhere I can sleep. This is your home. Then why was I removed from it? He had no line ready for that. I packed an overnight bag. In the bathroom, my moisturizer had been shifted to the cabinet because Celeste thought the counter looked cluttered for Elise's visit. In the bedroom, Grant's side of the closet stood open. One sleeve of his reunion jacket caught in the door. I freed it automatically before I realized what I was doing. Grant waited at the foot of the stairs. You're taking the hotel key? He asked. I looked down. The brass tag was still in my hand, warm from my grip. Yes. Why? Because your mother had access to it. It doesn't open anything. That has never stopped either of you from treating it like yours. He followed me to the front door. Celeste remained in the kitchen, a pale figure under the pendant lights. I love you, Grant said. I closed my eyes. He said it the way he always had. Without decoration, without embarrassment. Grant did love me. That was part of the problem. His love was genuine inside the rooms where it cost him nothing. I believe you, I said. The answer frightened him more than if I had refused it. At the Belmont, I paid for 1 night and slept for perhaps 2 hours. At 6, I sat beside the window with bitter coffee and opened my laptop. The city below looked scrubbed and colorless. Delivery trucks occupied the curbs. A man in a green apron dragged cafe chairs onto the sidewalk one at a time. I drafted 3 emails. The first went to Grant and Celeste. Effective immediately, I would no longer perform bookkeeping, scheduling, vendor collections, payroll review, or administrative work for Vale events. Existing files would remain accessible in the company drive. Passwords belonging to the business were listed in its password manager. Questions could be sent in writing. The second said the basement and main floor access would end in 30 days. Inventory removal could be scheduled between 9 and 5 on weekdays. Celeste's residential access to the garden apartment would remain unchanged. The third was for our bank. I did not send it. Not yet. My cursor hovered over the words, requesting separate signature controls. Grant called twice, Celeste once. Then my phone displayed a name I had not expected, Elise Rowan. I let it ring until voicemail picked up. A minute later, a message appeared. Mara, I owe you an apology. I was told enough to believe something that clearly wasn't true. But before you decide I'm the villain in your marriage, you should know Grant wasn't the person who first told me you were leaving him. I read it again. Then I looked at the 3 emails on my screen and wondered how many people had been invited into the story of my marriage before anyone thought to invite me. I called Elise back before I could invent a reason not to. She answered on the first ring. Mara? Who told you? A pause. Good morning to you, too. Who told you I was leaving Grant? Celeste. I had expected the name. Hearing it still felt like stepping onto a stair that was not there. When? January. We had lunch after a hotel association meeting. I asked about using your property for a pilot kitchen, and she said you probably wouldn't be involved much longer. Those were her words? She said you were tired of carrying the Vale name and wanted a life that belonged to you. I looked at the brass key beside my laptop. Celeste had taken language from arguments I thought were private. I had told Grant I wanted one room in our home that did not belong to his mother's company. I had said I was tired of being treated like the least important Vale whenever there was work to do. In Celeste's version, boundaries had become abandonment. What did Grant say when you asked him? I said. He said things were complicated, so he confirmed it. He didn't correct it. Elise's voice was brisk but not cold. She sounded like a woman separating facts into labeled boxes. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because last night was ugly and I had a part in it. I assumed Grant wanted discretion. I didn't realize discretion meant introducing his wife as someone else. You still discussed a contract with him. I discuss contracts with people I don't admire every day. That must be convenient. It's employment. Despite myself, I smiled. Elise continued, For what it's worth, I never asked him to present himself as available. Did you encourage him? I let him buy me 2 drinks and tell me stories that made him sound essential. That's not quite the same thing. Did he flirt with you? Yes. The clean answer hurt less than Grant's careful one. Did you flirt back? Enough to see whether he confused charm with leverage. And did he? He usually does. There was history in the way she said it, but not longing. I'm not interested in your husband, she said. I am interested in whether Vale Events can perform the work it proposed. The documents describe a permanent facility, stable administrative support, and access to property Celeste doesn't own. If those things aren't real, I need to know before the showcase. What showcase? Silence moved on to the line. The one at the Bellwether, Elise said, 3 weeks from Thursday. I closed my eyes. Of course. You weren't told. I was wearing the staff uniform at my husband's reunion. What do you think? It wasn't a staff uniform. Thank you, Elise. It was close, though. That pulled a laugh out of me before I could stop it. The sound surprised both of us. I can suspend the review, she said, because Grant lied to you. Because I don't know what resources the company actually controls. If you suspend it now, Celeste will say I destroyed the contract. Would she be wrong? Yes, but that has never been enough to stop her. I watched the man in the green apron line up the last chair. He adjusted it twice, stood back, then moved it half an inch. Don't suspend anything yet, I said. What are you asking me to do? Nothing. Evaluate the company that actually exists. That company may be difficult to identify. I'm beginning to notice. After we hung up, I sent the first 2 emails. Then I called the bank. The representative explained that either owner of a joint account could transfer funds without the other's approval. They could note a dispute, but they could not convert the account to dual authorization unless Grant agreed. I opened an individual checking account and changed the direct deposit for my next paycheck. I left enough in the joint account for the mortgage, utilities, groceries, and our usual household expenses. The rest of my salary went where only I could move it. It felt both enormous and disappointingly administrative. Grant was sitting at the kitchen island when I returned home. His coffee had gone cold. My 3 emails were printed beside him, as if their existence on paper made them more hostile. Did you sleep? He asked. A little. I didn't. I set my overnight bag by the stairs. He looked at the brass tag hanging from my fingers. Did you carry that all night? I put it on the hotel desk. I mean, why take it at all? Because I needed one thing you hadn't offered to someone else. He flinched. That's theatrical. So was calling me a family friend. I apologized. No, you explained. He touched the printed emails. 30 days isn't enough to relocate. It's enough to remove the inventory. Your mother's apartment is a separate issue. She lives there. She can keep living there at the rent we agreed on until I give proper notice. I'm not throwing her onto the sidewalk. She pays rent. She pays $700 for an apartment that would lease for more than twice that. She founded the company you've been helping. I have been subsidizing the company she founded. Grant stood. You want to punish my mother, punish her. Don't take it out on the employees. There they are again. They are real people, Mara. So am I. I know. Then stop saying that as if knowing it counts as acting like it. His shoulders sagged. For a moment, he looked less angry than lost. I can fix the Elise situation, he said. What does fixing it look like? I tell her I handled things badly. I tell her we're married and staying married. You don't get to promise that on my behalf either. His mouth opened, then closed. I spoke to her, I said. The softness left him. Elise called you? She told me your mother started the separation story in January. Grant stared toward the garden stairs. I didn't know that. You knew by the time Elise repeated it. I thought correcting her would make us look unstable. We were stable until you needed us to look unstable. That isn't fair. Neither was letting me spend 3 weeks checking dietary restrictions for people you intended to lie to about me. He dragged a hand through his hair. What do you want? The question sounded sincere. That made it harder. I want you to separate your life from your mother's emergencies long enough to decide whether our marriage exists when it costs you something. I'm standing here trying to save it. You're standing between me and the company. He looked down and realized he was, physically, blocking the stairs to Celeste's apartment. He stepped aside. Celeste did not come up that morning. By noon, a courier began carrying empty plastic bins through the garden entrance. She had responded to my email with 4 words, received under strenuous objection. At 2, she sent another message requesting 60 days. I declined. At 3, she asked for evening access to the kitchen because the garden oven could not accommodate full sheet pans. I gave her 2 scheduled evenings that week and told her those would be the last. Her reply was immediate. Your generosity has always depended on being thanked correctly. I stared at the sentence until I could admit it had found a tender place. For years, Celeste had thanked me. She sent flowers after I rebuilt her invoices. She toasted me at company dinners. She called me the calm center of the family. I had accepted praise in place of limits because praise felt warmer. I typed 3 different responses and deleted them all. The next week revealed how much of Vale events I had been carrying in tasks too small to have names. A florist called me about an unpaid balance. A corporate client forwarded a seating revision to my personal email. A linen service asked whether Tuesday delivery still stood. I redirected every message to Grant and Celeste. On Wednesday, a chef named Ramon called while I was buying toothpaste. Celeste says payroll is delayed because you locked the accounting system. I didn't lock anything. She says the bank connection is broken. The password is in the company manager. He can't find it. Who? Grant. I close my eyes beneath the drugstore's brutal white lights. Tell him it's under financial, not banking. Can you just log in? My thumb hovered over the cart handle. Ramon had worked every winter party Vale Events had catered. He packed leftovers for the dishwashers before Celeste could offer them to clients. Once, when I sliced my palm opening a wine crate, he wrapped it with gauze and drove me to urgent care while Grant managed a speech. No, I said, I can't. Payroll went out 6 hours late. Grant called that evening. You proved your point. If my point was that you don't know where the passwords are, yes. You could have prevented a lot of panic. So could the people who own the business. You set up the system and documented it. Ramon thought he wasn't getting paid. I'm sorry he was frightened. Are you? His anger sounded righteous because part of it was. That was the difficulty Celeste always understood better than either of us. If she tied enough decent people to her need, refusing her would never feel clean. I'm sorry for Ramon, I said. I'm not sorry I stopped. Grant hung up. By Friday, half the basement shelves were empty. Pale outlines remained on the concrete where boxes had stood. Celeste moved around me with formal courtesy, announcing each trip through the kitchen as if entering a diplomatic border. She also contacted a tenant advisor. The letter arrived by email. It said her residential access could not be impaired and requested continued use of the internal staircase, laundry room, rear patio, and mail area. I had planned to replace the main lock that weekend and give her a key limited to the garden entrance. The letter made it clear the separation would not be as simple as changing hardware. I forwarded it to a landlord attorney and paid for an hour of advice. She told me to slow down, document every shared area, and avoid altering access until we had reviewed Celeste's lease. Grant learned about the consultation from Celeste. You hired a lawyer against my mother? I hired someone to tell me what I'm allowed to do. She thinks you're evicting her. I haven't decided what I'm doing. That's supposed to reassure us. Us. I heard it, and he knew I heard it. He came home that night with groceries and cooked pasta. He browned the butter too far, swore, started over, and grated Parmesan onto the floor. For 40 minutes, we spoke only about garlic, salt, and whether the good skillet could survive the broiler. It was almost tender. After dinner, he placed the brass key between us on the table. I had left it on my desk that morning. Do you remember the morning after the wedding? He asked. Yes. You didn't want to check out. You ordered enough breakfast for 6 people. I was hungry. You were afraid to go downstairs because your mother had scheduled brunch. He smiled. Luis let us stay until 2. The key lay beside his hand. Tarnish darkened the grooves of 614. I don't want to become 2 people who communicate through attorneys and bank notices, he said. Then don't spend money we haven't agreed to spend. I won't. Don't discuss my property with Elise. I won't. Tell her the truth about us. He nodded. I wanted to believe the meal meant something. I wanted the man who burned butter and remembered our wedding breakfast to be more real than the man in the foyer. He reached across the table. I let him take my hand. The following Monday, I opened the banking app to pay the gas bill. $18,000 was gone from our emergency savings. The transfer description read Vale Events Operating. I called Grant. He did not answer. Celeste did. We had vendor deposits due, she said. You took our savings. Grant transferred a temporary bridge. He promised me he wouldn't spend money without my agreement. The reunion overruns became payable after you withdrew. Your own records show you approved the vendors. I approved estimates. I didn't approve draining our account. You abandoned the work at the moment of payment. I gave you every file. You knew what would happen. Behind her voice, I heard the hollow roll of a cart across the Bellwether's marble floor. Where are you? I asked. At the hotel. For what? The showcase walkthrough. My grip tightened around the phone. Celeste lowered her voice. Mara, we are going forward. Grant believes that once you see what this contract can do, you'll sign the property authorization. I believe you're angry enough to let all of us drown. And which one of you is right? I suppose we'll find out. She ended the call. A message from Luis arrived before I could put down the phone. Could you call me regarding invoices Vale Events submitted for the reunion? Your name appears as approving administrator, and I don't believe you've seen them. I looked through the doorway at Grant's desk. The Rowan proposal was gone. So was the brass key. Luis answered before the first ring finished. I'm sorry to bother you, he said. I need to confirm whether you approved an additional $12,000 in reunion expenses. I approved the original estimate. That was $26,000. Yes, the final invoice is $38,000. I sat down in Grant's desk chair. What did they add? An upgraded bar, 2 extra suites, audio equipment, floral changes, and a private breakfast for the planning committee. Who stayed in the suites? One was Celeste, the other was billed under Grant's name. Grant had left our house that morning wearing the shirt I ironed the night before. Why is my name on the approval? Vale Events submitted an email from you authorizing reasonable adjustments to protect client experience. I remembered the email. I had sent it in March after a bride's florist delivered centerpieces to the wrong venue. The adjustments I approved were 2 vans and 40 minutes of overtime. That was for the Mayfield wedding. Yes, Louise said. The subject line is still visible. I pressed 2 fingers against my forehead. Grant told our accounting office you served as Vale Events Director of Operations. He continued. They accepted your standing approval because we've worked with you before. I recognized the language when the file crossed my desk. I'm not their Director of Operations. I know what you've done for them. That isn't the same thing. Can you send me everything? I already have. His email contained the original reunion estimate, the final invoice, my old message, and a vendor profile naming me as Administrative and Property Operations Lead. The profile listed my home address as Vale Events Permanent Facility. Near the bottom, under Operational Continuity, it said Mara Vale oversees finance, vendor compliance, and site administration, ensuring stable delivery throughout expansion. They had transformed my favors into infrastructure. I need to correct the hotel's records, I said. Send it to me in writing. Will that damage the showcase? Luis was quiet for a moment. The truth tends to damage plans built without it. I thanked him and hung up. The email I wrote was 6 sentences long. I had never held a title at Vale Events. I had performed occasional unpaid administrative work. I had not approved reunion expenses beyond the original estimate. I did not authorize use of my prior email for another event. My property was not a company facility and was unavailable for the proposed expansion. Effective immediately, no representation of my authority, labor, or property should be accepted without direct written confirmation from me. I sent it to Luis, copied Grant and Celeste, and forwarded it to Elise. Then I went to work. That was the strangest part. I spent the afternoon reviewing insurance renewals while my marriage opened beneath me. People stopped beside my desk to ask about deductibles and coverage limits. I answered them. At lunch, I ate yogurt with a plastic spoon and watched Grant's name light up my phone. He called 7 times. At 5:20, he was waiting beside my car. You copied Elise, he said. She was evaluating resources you don't have. You could have called me. I did. I was in a walkthrough. With the key from our wedding in your pocket. His hand moved toward his jacket. What was it for? I asked. Were you going to show it to her as proof the house comes with you? That's not why I took it. Why then? I wanted to remind you of what we're risking. He pulled the brass key out. In the parking garage's flat light, the tarnished tag looked older than our marriage. You stole a memory to convince me to risk my house. I borrowed it. Give it back. He closed his fingers around it. Come home. Let's talk. I'll meet you there. Celeste was at the kitchen island when I arrived. The Rowan proposal sat beside a folder stamped by a local bank. Grant placed the hotel key on top as though adding a paperweight. Celeste pushed the folder toward me. The lender needs a preliminary acknowledgement tonight, she said. It isn't the final guarantee. I did not open it. You took $18,000. To cover obligations you approved, Grant said. I corrected that lie with the hotel. His nostrils flared. Do you understand what your email did? It made the paperwork accurate. The Bellwether suspended our vendor credit because you owe them $12,000. Because you told them we misrepresented your authority. You did. Celeste folded her hands. We used language consistent with the work you performed. Then you should have paid me. We thanked you, she said. The words hung there, startling in their purity. Yes, I said, you did. Grant opened the bank folder. If you sign the acknowledgement, the bridge financing replaces the savings before the end of the month. And if the Rowan contract doesn't happen, the showcase will make it happen. Elise hasn't approved the property plan. She will if she sees a united operation. Celeste pushed a pen toward me. It rolled across the island and stopped against my wrist. There it was, the whole marriage reduced to a familiar sequence. Celeste created urgency. Grant described surrender as unity. I provided the signature, the room, the spreadsheet, the forgiveness. I picked up the pen. Grant exhaled. I drew a line through the space marked property owner and wrote declined across the page. Celeste's chair scraped the floor. I will give you one option, I told her. When your current rental term ends, you can sign a 6-month lease at market rent, garden entrance only. No business storage, no internal stairs except for a documented emergency, no use of the kitchen. You want me to live underneath you as a paying stranger. I want you to live there as a tenant. I am your family. You taught me that family friends don't get access. Grant stared at me. You've been saving that line. No, you gave it to me. Celeste stood very still. If I agree to that lease, we lose the company. You lose the version that uses my house. It cannot survive without the basement. Then it cannot survive. Her face tightened. You would rather prove ownership than preserve something we built. I didn't build Vale Events. Remember, I only helped. She turned to Grant. Tell her. He looked from his mother to the folder. For one hopeful second, I thought he might finally see the choice in front of him. You know I can't let 6 people lose their jobs, he said. He did see it. He simply chose as he always had. Then don't, I said. Build a company that can pay for its own space. The showcase remained scheduled while Grant and Celeste scrambled. They rented hours in a shared commercial kitchen and moved the last inventory out of my basement. Ramon found the missing bank connection, then gave notice after Celeste asked him to defer part of his pay until the Rowan decision. 2 other employees reduced their hours. Vale Events completed its existing commitments, but Grant stopped using the word expansion around me. He slept in the guest room. Some evenings we ate at opposite ends of the kitchen island. Other evenings he brought home takeout and tried to be the person I had married. He replaced a loose cabinet hinge. He refilled my car's washer fluid. He left a bakery bag beside my laptop with the apricot pastry I liked. Tenderness became another bill I could not tell whether I was expected to pay. A week before the showcase, Elise met me for coffee. She set the vendor profile between us. Celeste says you wrote this. I gave her a biography 2 years ago for a charity event. She reused parts. Grant says you're withdrawing because of a marital dispute. I'm withdrawing because it was unpaid work in a house I own. Those can both be true. Yes. She stirred her coffee without drinking it. If I end the review today, they'll blame you. They already do. If I let them present, the operational gaps will be obvious. Then let them present. Elise studied me. You want them exposed. I thought of the reunion foyer, the navy dress, Grant's pause. I want you to evaluate what they're actually selling. That answer was almost corporate enough to impress me. Grant taught me. The night before the showcase, he came into my room carrying the brass key. I'm moving downstairs after tomorrow, he said. With Celeste? For now. I nodded. He sat on the edge of the chair by the window. I keep thinking about what you said, about our marriage only existing when it doesn't cost me anything. And I think I spent years assuming you were strong enough to absorb whatever I couldn't handle. It was the truest thing he had said to me. That sounds flattering until you're the thing being absorbed, I said. I know. No, you're beginning to. He turned the brass tag over in his hand. Come tomorrow. Why? The lender expects the property owner. I already declined. They think there's still room to negotiate, because you told them there was, because I hoped there was. He held the key out to me. When I reached for it, his hand closed. Please, he said, remember who we were. I do. Give me the key. he let go. At the Bellwether, Vale Events had transformed the ballroom into a polished autumn dinner. Copper-colored linens, low arrangements of red leaves and cream roses, menus printed on thick ivory cards. Celeste moved among the tables in a dark green suit, correcting angles no guest would notice. Grant stood near the foyer with 2 lenders and a group of hotel buyers. His face registered relief when he saw me. He crossed the marble floor. "Thank you." I came to clarify my position. "Just listen to the presentation first." He guided me toward the group before I could answer. "This is Mara Vale," he said, "our operations partner and the owner of the expansion site." The lenders greeted me. One of the buyers said, "Grant tells us you're the steady hand behind all this." Luis stood near the front desk. His gaze found mine. 3 weeks earlier, I had wanted the floor to open beneath me. Now I felt the strange calm that comes when humiliation has already taken everything it can. "I'm Grant's wife," I said. "I have never been an operations partner in Vale Events. The expansion site is my home, and it is not available." Grant's smile remained in place. "Mara and I are still finalizing the structure." "No, we aren't." Celeste reached us. "This is a private family discussion." It stopped being private when you put my house in a lender packet. The lender holding the folder opened it. "Mrs. Vale, are you declining the property contribution?" "Yes." "And the administrative role?" "Yes." Luis stepped forward. "The Bellwether's records have been corrected to reflect that. We also require settlement of the reunion balance before extending further vendor credit." One buyer looked at Grant. Another closed her notebook. Elise emerged from the ballroom and joined the circle. Her face gave nothing away. "Grant," she said, "your proposal depends on a facility you don't control, administrative capacity you don't employ, and credit the hotel has suspended." "We have replacement kitchen access," he said. "The rest can be restructured. Then submit a proposal based on the business you have." "What happens to this one?" "I'm declining it." Celeste's mouth parted. "Elise, at least taste the menu." "I intend to." "You ordered dinner for 40. It was not a joke, though it almost sounded like one. Grant looked at me. Hurt, anger, and comprehension moved across his face in that order. "You could have done this privately," he said. "I did. You brought my name back into the room." I walked away before he could turn my departure into another negotiation. Vale Events paid the reunion balance in installments. It kept 4 employees, gave up plans for the second kitchen, and moved into 2 rooms behind a bakery across town. Celeste rejected my lease offer and rented a smaller apartment near the new space. Grant moved into its spare room after we separated. The $18,000 returned in pieces. Grant's share of the savings first, then monthly payments under the agreement our attorneys prepared. The end of a marriage proved quieter than its public denial. We divided dishes, furniture, insurance policies, and the small routines neither of us had realized were shared property. Months later, the Bellwether renovated its 6th floor. Luis showed me the new rooms, then walked me to the front desk. I placed the brass key on the polished walnut. "You know you can keep it," he said. "I know." He touched the stamped 614 with one finger. "It's only a key. It hasn't opened anything in years." Outside, evening light warmed the hotel windows. I walked home to the brownstone past the garden entrance that now belonged to a tenant who paid rent and used her own stairs. At my front door, I took out the new key. It opened exactly 1 lock. That was enough.